Raúl. You prefer to be called Raúl or Raúl?
Raúl, Raúl,
Raúl.
Raúl,
Right.
ya que ese es mi nombre, es mejor decir Raúl.
Okay, great. So, let's start right there. So, Raúl Esparza, of course, it comes from a Latin background. So, where does it come from? Where do you come from, Raúl?
My parents are Cuban. I was born in the United States. I was born in Wilmington, Delaware, of all places, because my aunt worked for DuPont in the chemical company in Havana.
Yes.
My my family in Cuba was in La Habana and in Santa Clara. My father, my mommy from La Habana, and then we had relatives in Spain in Gerona, just outside of in Catalonia, and also in Galicia. So yeah, but I'm the only one. I'm the gringo. I was the only one who was born in the United States.
Cool.
To my parents.
So, are you an only child?
I'm an only child, yes, which is rare for a Latin family, but I am. And then
It is right.
it is rare. So yeah, I was mostly raised in Miami. And so Spanish is my first
You have a
language.
lot of primos. A lot of
Uh-huh.
primos out there, right? The
Yeah,
primos, they have a lot.
yes.
Well, there's no Latin family without primos around,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
probably have a lot of them.
We're one huge group. Once I went to school, what we call middle school and high school, or bachillerato is what we call it in Spanish.
Yeah.
I went to a school called Belen Jesuit Preparatory School. It's a Jesuit Catholic school, which happens to also be Fidel Castro's alma mater when he was in Havana. And so one of the first things he did was kick those priests out of Havana, and they ended up in Miami, and they reopened the school. So we had some of the same teachers. At Belém, all of us were the sons, it's an all-boys school, and all of us were the sons of Cuban exiles, mostly. So everybody spoke Spanish as well as English, and we had a Spanish department that was as strong as the English department. And there was a teacher in 7th grade who I met, named Beatriz Jimenez, who taught Spanish class and taught Spanish history. And she put together, the school didn't have any kind of theater program or anything like that, but she would put together these noches de teatro, nights of theater, where we would they would do little scenes. And the first year in 7th grade, I didn't do anything, but I guess she thought that I was talented, or something about me in the class struck her, because I was very curious then about the Spanish playwrights that she was teaching, like Calderón de la Barca or Lope de Vega or Lorca. And so she saw that I was interested. Yeah, go ahead.
The texts you were doing, they were from Spanish writers. It was not a translation.
No, not translated, in Spanish, because we were all fully bilingual. So this was just, we were reading these plays, and I just kind of fell in love with Lorca, and I guess she saw something in me. But the next year, when they did a Noche de Teatro, she asked me to do a play called Mañana de Sol. Mañana de Sol was written by the Álvarez Quintero brothers in Madrid, the turn of the century, and it's a 2-person play about an old man and an old woman who meet in the Prado, El Paseo del Prado in Madrid, in that area, and they realized that they used to be lovers when they were kids, when they were young, and she wanted to do this play, and so she had me play the old lady, and which happens
just like the Shakespearean theater.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I did that, and it was the first time I remembered, and I remember understanding that there was something about me that I couldn't necessarily control it. I didn't know where it came from, but there was something about what I would do in front of a stage that was making audiences respond to me without my even understanding it. Because I remember all those parents laughing. I remember the teachers laughing. I remember the students laughing. And we won prizes for this performance. I ended up getting like a special award from the great American actor Jose Ferrer, who was running the Coconut Grove Playhouse that year. So I would have been 13 years old, and I won this acting prize for with the guy Jorge Santamaria who did the play with me. We won like a special acting prize at the youth fair in Miami for our performance in competition. Coincidentally, many years later, I won the Ola Award for accomplishment as a Hispanic actor, and it's the Jose Ferrer Award. which I found incredibly
Cool.
moving. That the first prize I ever got for acting was also one of the first major public prizes I got it. In any case, the experience of performing this play just made me fall in love with really doing, acting. And then I didn't think I would necessarily be an actor. It's just one of many things that I did. Truthfully, like I had to learn an instrument, and I wanted to learn piano. If I had to learn an instrument, my mom didn't want to put the piano in the house. She said it didn't match the decorations. And so they bought me a guitar. And I took these guitar lessons that I hated. And it turns out I actually learned a lot, because while we're in this quarantine, I've pulled my guitar out, and I still remember all the stuff that I played as a kid. And, it comes back pretty quick. And guitar is fun to play around with now. But as a kid, I didn't love it, because I had a teacher who was a wonderful man named Angel del Valle, who would come to my house and teach me, but everything was Cuban boleros. Everything was boleros and Cuban songs. And so I would sing these songs for my grandmother, and Abuela was the only one who could sort of put up with it. Because imagine you got this 10-year-old with his guitar, singing these old Cuban songs, para la viejita, in her room. But she loved it.
Bro.
So I was always singing, but I just,
one of the things that I wrote here, that's exactly, since singing is my main area, and I teach that, and then I have studied a lot about it. When I listen to a voice, I kind of know what kind of background this person has. And I think I could hear a lot of those bolero singers that have those high background, that natural, very gypsy-like.
Yes.
Like the Spanish gypsies, they have that sound. That's the sound you have, and that's the sound that you cannot teach. I mean,
that's
this is the quality.
I get told all the time that when I start singing in Spanish, that somehow I change completely. Even now, because I'm speaking to you, and I know that you can probably understand some of my Spanish, and we can kind of go back and forth. I notice that my accent goes back to like how I grew up. I instantly start to get the sing-song of how I was raised, what I sound like. If you put me in Miami, after a while, I'll be talking like this, because I'm home. Everybody talks like this. It's just the way that it comes out is like, because you just go back and forth entre los dos idiomas. You don't even realize you're doing it. It's just the switching of languages. And I have been told that when I sing in Spanish, it's like I'm a different person. But
it's an emotional memory.
Completely.
It brings, you go back to another place.
They can come. That's from your parents, from your grandmother. That's in your blood,
There's nothing wrong about it, Raúl. Please, come on. There's nothing wrong about it.
No, it's great. But I love it. I totally love it, and that's where I feel most comfortable. And especially in terms of my singing, it's where I feel like I express the most honest version of myself. But singing like that, singing boleros or singing rock and roll tunes, that is. It's untrained, it's raw, it's messy. It's the kind of thing that used to make people like Daphne Rubin Vega and Idina Menzel really exciting. When that Rent cast came out, that kind of scratchy, totally
it's exactly that.
Untrained. But that's different from Sondheim.
It's untrained, but it's so pleasant to hear.
Thank you.
That's what the thing about rock and roll. It's there's the rebel thing, but it's still a nice sound. So I got that from.
And you're very, very perceptive about it, because I know my phrasing and my sense of how to sing, particularly ballads, comes from Cuban music. It just does.
Cuban music?
It does. And it comes from like singing bossa novas. Like I fell in love with Yo sé que te amaré by Jobim, Yo sé que voy a amar. Like these songs that I would hear as a kid. Because my parents would play Cuban music, they would play French music, they would play sambas and bossa novas, they would play tangos, they would play bachata.
Did you listen to Eddie Gourmet and Los Panchos?
Yeah, they would play Los Panchos.
That's such a reference for me. That's the reference of a female belter singing Spanish songs for me. That's her.
Right. Actually, like Gal Costa was someone that they were
Gal Costa,
crazy,
come on,
it's
an amazing singer.
But taking that and then learning to do theater music, then I had to reapply myself. I had to learn. I had to study. I had to start in a way from scratch to learn how to do the kind of singing that is required on stage 8 shows a week.
And I was like,
hey, I feel the same. I feel the same way. Even when I got on the phone to like call you guys. I thought, well, what am I going to say to these people?
What am I going to say to
What am I
him?
going to, come
And
on.
I'm
I
just
feel
going
the
to
same way.
waste
Like, what
his
are we going to
time
talk
or anything. So, muito obrigado, Raúl, por estar aqui conosco.
De nada, de nada. Muchísimas gracias a ustedes y un fuerte abrazo.